Chapter 7, Words Matter, 1831 to 1852. Words matter. They influence what we think and how we act. So it comes as no surprise that ideas about Black people and slavery continued to be shared through writing. These writings almost always expressed ideas about Black people being lesser and white people being greater. But there are other examples that broke this trend. For instance, William Lloyd Garrison. He was a white abolitionist who started a newspaper in 1831. He was inspired by Black abolitionists in Boston, people like Maria Stewart and David Walker. Like them, he believed in the immediate physical freedom of Black people. Yes. But his ideas involved Black people proving their equality to white people who eventually would accept their existence. No. To make it plain, he believed in free today, but equal later on after white people are sure you deserve to be equal because your being human isn't enough. Black people shouldn't have to convince white people they are equal. His ideas about freedom for Black people had strings attached, requirements he felt Black people would have to meet, because apparently being people wasn't enough. In 1835, Garrison shared his ideas about Black people and their freedom. He and others who joined him used the new technology of mass printing and the postal service to flood the nation with 20 to 50,000 abolitionist pamphlets a week, 1 million anti-slavery pamphlets by the end of the year. In 1845, there was a new narrative. Instead of this one giving thoughts and opinions about slavery, it was a first-hand account of its horrors. This story was written by Frederick Douglass, a Black man who had been enslaved. His book, The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, was published with Garrison's help, and it was a hit, an important weapon to fight against the idea that Black people were inferior. But Douglass was a runaway enslaved person whose voice was getting attention, which put him in danger of being caught. Although he had to flee to Great Britain and continue spreading his anti-slavery message there, his words and message became gold for all those who were working to abolish slavery in America. Douglass's narrative wasn't the only story to describe what it was like to be enslaved. The narrative of Sojourner Truth is another. Although women were also enslaved and enslavers, they were mostly left out of the discussion until this book. Sojourner Truth was bold, the kind of woman who would stand up in a room full of white people and declare her humanity, the kind of woman who used anti-racist ideas to uplift all humanity. White people were writing stories about slavery too. One fictional narrative, titled Uncle Tom's Cabin, became one of the most popular books ever. Some of you may even have to read it in school at some point. The author, an abolitionist named Harriet Beecher Stowe, wrote the tale of an enslaved man who befriends a young white girl and holds tight to his Christian faith even as he is mistreated. The book was Stowe's attempt to use fiction to change white people's views about slavery, to try to help them understand its horrors. Still, there were a bunch of racist ideas in this story. So even while it inspired many readers to join the abolitionist movement, it also helped to strengthen ideas that Black people couldn't be as smart or as human as white people. With anti-slavery books and ideas getting more popular, white people who were pro-slavery got busy spreading even more hate. They'd used literature and storytelling as a racist weapon by the invention of the, quote, enslaver our do-gooders narrative, and used math as a racist weapon in the past. Remember that 3/5 of a person nonsense? And now they would use science, or fake science anyway. Yep, even scientists join in on the racism, and we're now working to justify slavery. One scientist claimed that white people had bigger skulls than Black people, and therefore more intelligence. A report claimed that free Black people had more mental health challenges than enslaved Black people, and that biracial people had shorter lifespans than white people. Of course, none of this was true. But these racist lies were hidden behind science and used to support and spread fake ideas about Black people. anything to justify supremacy and slavery, anything to stop ideas about freedom. Soon, there would be a new political leader to weigh in on the issue of slavery, Abraham Lincoln.